Mr. Umar, it's a pleasure to hear you speak on relationships, and I got a real serious question, like for real, from personal experience. Why is it that after 6 months into the relationship, not even 6 months into the relationship, I'm going to speak from my own personal experience, why is it 6 months after you say I do, a person changes?
Okay, that's because when we shop for a new mate, we actually shop the same way we shop for any other product, which means that the person who you are approaching to solicit the product or to investigate for a possible relationship, they're only selling you their best side. For example, if I have a used car for sale and you're coming to check out my used car, I'm not going to tell you that the carburetor is no good. I'm not going to tell you that the transmission is slipping. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to have to spend $10,000 to fix it. You're going to find that out on your own after you bought that car 6 months down the road. The problem is that a lot of times we're not honest with prospective mates about our dark side. And we all have a dark side. The problem is you never encounter your partner's dark side until they are comfortable enough with you in that relationship to let their ego manifest itself. In the early stages of a relationship, we keep our ego guarded. We do not let the real us come out. And all the real us is both the dark side and the light side. It's all of us, the good and the bad. But most of us in the early stages of the relationship, we're very disciplined to make sure we only show that part to our prospective partner that we want them to see, because we want this relationship. So whenever you're trying to sell something, you never show the defect. But after you settle into the relationship, the guard drops. When the guard drops, the ego stands up. And the ego does not believe in hiding. The ego does not believe in covering up the good or the bad. The ego says, I can do whatever the hell I want when I want to do it. And that's why you tend not to see the 360-degree person that you're dating until you're 6 to 12 months into the relationship, because that's when they get comfortable enough for the ego to take over and let you see the dark side as well as the positives.
Man, this brother is deep. Hey, you know what? I appreciate you saying that. And see, this is why a lot of us, like middle-aged black people, are so scared of long-term commitment. I am a living testimony. I was married for 13 months, and after that 6 months after saying I do, I saw the devil. And I told myself from that point on, I ain't leaving a toothbrush and a wave cap over another woman's house. We can socially date, but I don't think I'll ever say I'll do it again.
Well, a lot of times when folks are married or have been married, and we see this a lot in American society, not just with black folks, people tend to get married once, they never get married again. And one of the reasons is because that experience. And one of the realistic things about it, although we do want people to get married again, obviously, because we need strong examples of what a black male-female relationship is for our children, but I do understand why people tend to think that way, and it's because of this reason. You never truly know somebody until either you get married or until you have a child with them.
That's real talk.
Only in situations where it's only in situations where you're absolutely connected to that person for a relatively long time that we drop our guard and let the dark side out. See, a lot of men tend not to see the dark side of a woman until she gets pregnant. Once she gets pregnant, that ego is whispering into her conscience, and it's saying, you ain't got to hide who you are. You having this man's baby now. So the hell with all that good feel. Let him know everything. So when she gets pregnant and that ego lets her conscious mind know you ain't got to be nice to him, you can be yourself now. Now, if the sister's a good sister, being herself, isn't going to cause too much ruffles in the relationship because she was always a good person. But if she was hiding a dark side, and that ego whispered to that conscious mind, let it all out, and then that's when the brother says, damn, she was nothing like this. I knew this sister for 10 years. She got pregnant, she turned into somebody else. She didn't turn into somebody else. She was simply hiding the real her. It's the same thing when brothers marry sisters. A lot of times sisters will say, well, damn, after we got married, the way he treated me, that the gentlemanliness about his character, all that went by the wayside. It didn't go by the wayside. It was never there. That was simply the wrapping on the package. And that's one reason why I always advocate that people live together, even if it's for a short amount of time, before they get married. Now, a lot of folks don't agree with that. Of course, in the religious community, they don't. But I'm not trapped in a 2,000-year time warp. I recognize that we live in the 21st century. We don't live in the time of Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, or anybody else. We live in the 21st century. Back then, it was okay for people not to cohabitate because people were virgins going into the marriage. Now, people are no longer virgins. They also have had experiences with people, and they've had very bad experiences with people. And so since you're dealing with people who have had multiple partners, multiple relationships, multiple traumatic experiences, I do not think it's in their best interest to move in with somebody after you got married. The reason I advocate living with someone before you get married is because the more you are around somebody, the quicker it is you get to know them, because the quicker it is that their ego, sooner or later, is going to pop out of that false self that they're giving you. So if I'm living with a sister day in and day out, she's not going to be able to hide the dark side forever. It's impossible. The more she gets comfortable with me, the more likely the real her is going to come out, and I want that real person to come out before I decide to marry her or not. See, we all have the dark side. That's not the problem. I want to be clear about that. We all have one. That's not the problem. The problem is whether or not you can live with that other person's dark side. For example, one sister, you see her dark side, you say, you know what? I see where her shortcomings are. I see how she gets when she gets upset. I know how she can get a little selfish. But I can live with that. But this sister over here, I cannot live with that dark side. I got to get the hell out of here. And it sounds like that's what you went through. See, we all got a dark side. You got to find somebody whose dark side you can tolerate. The problem is we spend so much time hiding the real us from our potential partners that they never get a chance to make an informed decision of whether or not they can spend the rest of their lives with us. Because everybody's lying. We're giving the person our social self. We're giving them the self we want them to see. We're not giving them the real self.